In today's fast-paced world, communication is more than just a skill. It's a superpower. The ability to connect with others, convey your ideas effectively, and ultimately influence change is an essential skill for success, not just in your personal life, but professional life as well. In today's video, I want to share why communication is such a powerful skill to master and what you can start doing to be a more effective communicator. When I first started working as an occupational therapist, I thought that being a great therapist meant you had the most advanced medical practices. I thought the therapists with the best medical knowledge, the most advanced techniques, the best exercise routines were the ones that were going to rise to the top. What I found out on the job instead was that it wasn't necessarily true that the therapists who knew the most were the ones that excelled. It was the ones that mastered one particular skill that truly made them stand out from the rest, and that is communication. You see, it wasn't about how much they knew, it was whether they could explain, relate, and guide patients towards an ideal outcome. The ability to communicate is truly what separates the good from the greats. Effective communication is a cornerstone in every successful relationship, successful career, and personal growth. Communication is the ability to connect on a deeper level, build trust, and truly inspire action. In a world that is overflowing with information, communication skills have never been more important. Oftentimes, people don't care about what you know, they want to know why they should listen to you, and they want to know it fast. Communication is all about getting your idea across. If you aren't able to get someone to care about the message that you have, then it wouldn't matter how valuable the rest of your message is. A great example of this is thinking about teachers, right? Because a lot of teachers are highly knowledgeable, they know a lot about a particular subject, but how they teach really makes a difference, because there are some professors and teachers that basically goes on and on and on about a certain subject, and it absolutely bores the heck out of the students. And then there are professors that are able to organize things, have the students care about the subject, and really keep them engaged, and that truly makes all the difference. At the end of the day, you can be the most talented and skilled person in the world, but if you aren't able to convey your message properly, then it really wouldn't matter. Your potential will go unrealized. But communication isn't always easy. We're constantly being bombarded by distractions, overwhelmed by information, influenced by our biases, and that is why it's so important to understand human psychology if you want to be a great communicator. The first thing you need to understand is that human beings are inherently selfish and we have terrible attention spans. And that's a huge reason why I started off this video telling you this video is about communication and why it's important to you. Because if you don't care about the message, then it doesn't matter what the rest of my video actually talks about, you're not going to care about it. The second thing you need to realize is that human beings all have our biases already. We have different experiences, we're raised very differently, and we have certain beliefs that's going to kind of set the difference in what we want to listen to and what we don't want to listen to. So when you're communicating, you actually don't want to think too much about making it extremely logical. Instead, you want to convey the message by helping people understand why it's important and actually tailoring to their emotions. And I know this sounds kind of strange because to be a good, effective communicator, you obviously have to be logical about stuff, but this is just the reality of things. Human beings, we already have certain things that we believe, and if I'm approaching you, telling you stuff that you truly don't want to believe, then it doesn't matter what I'm communicating to you, you're not going to care about what I say. But instead, if I share, hey, this is why it's important and this is my perspective of how things are, you might be a little bit more open to kind of listening to me. So you just have to understand that every single human being, we all have biases, we all believe in certain things. So communication is more about tailoring to the emotion and helping people understand as opposed to simply stating down facts. And the third thing you need to understand is that in our current era, the information age, we are overwhelmed with information. Because right now I'm sharing a topic about communication, but if you go ahead and Google communication skills, there's probably hundreds of other searches out there. So at the end of the day, the information might appear pretty similar, but how I present it is actually the difference. So when you're communicating something, just understand it's not so much about the information, because everyone has access to the information already. It's about how you connect the dots for someone, how you help someone relate to the information. That is more powerful. So understanding these concepts help you kind of understand a little bit about who your audience is, how you're communicating all that stuff to them. And that leads me to my next point, understanding your audience. Effective communication is all about understanding your audience. You need to understand who you're communicating with and what do they want from you. Try to tailor your message to their specific needs, make it engaging, make it relevant, and that is how you're going to get someone to listen to you. And the secret to this is all about empathy. Empathy is basically you putting yourself in another person's shoes. So if I'm putting myself in your shoes right now, I know that you want to know why communication is so powerful and how you can start taking advantage of it. For example, right now while I'm talking to you, I'm putting myself in your shoes. As you're watching this video, I know you want to know why communication is so powerful and how exactly can you start to implement it, which I'll start to share at the end of this video. So knowing your audience is a very vital component of being an effective communicator, and not enough people practice this. Have you ever gotten an email and someone's kind of telling you a message, but they send this really long paragraph, a bunch of stuff, you have to decipher everything and figure out what's going on there, but all you really wanted is you wanted a few bullet points on what exactly are you trying to tell me and what do I need to know next. And this is how I kind of changed my way of communicating with someone. I've stopped writing really long messages and I I kind of separated it into bullet points. But people are always thinking about what they should do, how they want to convey things. But instead, you want to switch your perspective and start thinking, what does the audience want? If I was the other person receiving this message, how would I like to receive it? Do I want it to be very, very extensive? Do I want it to be very simple and easy to understand? What are the next steps that the audience can actually take? So when you start thinking all about this, your communication is going to evolve further, because now you're not just trying to be an effective communicator, you want to make sure that the other person is benefiting from what you are sharing. Now that you understand your audience, let's explore key elements of being an effective communicator. Be clear and concise, structure your message, and provide actionable steps. Let's start with number 1, being clear and concise. Start with a clear understanding of what the core concept, what the core idea, and what is the purpose of your message. When you ask yourself these questions, it leads you down a rabbit hole to start structuring out how are you going to present that message. So you want to ask yourself a few questions like, what does the other person listening to me stand to gain from it? How can I organize it in a way that's going to be easy to understand? And you want to do this because you need to know what you are talking about. Obviously, if you don't know what you're talking about, it's going to be a lot more difficult to convey an effective message. And that's actually a huge reason why I love making these YouTube videos, because as I'm making them, I kind of get caught up sometimes and I'm unable to articulate my ideas effectively. And then it gives me a little aha moment like, hey, you don't know this part that well. You probably need to research it a little bit more or rethink it. And that actually makes the message a lot more effective. So if you're ever trying to explain something to someone and you're unable to explain it properly, it shows that you have a gap in your knowledge. You need to seek additional information or kind of brainstorm things a little bit to understand what is it you don't understand and how you can connect the dots. And this is why it is so powerful when you're able to teach someone something, because it shows you understand something. There's a huge difference when you just memorize stuff and you regurgitate it versus you actually understanding what exactly the message is and how you can explain it to them to make it clear and concise. The second thing is structure is key. Understand that to be an effective communicator, you need to structure your message in a way where people are able to understand and follow along that story. For example, for this video, I started off with a purpose, a problem, like communication is a skill that's effective for you and you should grow it. And then I follow up with challenges on what actually makes it difficult to be an effective communicator. And finally, right now, I'm giving you solutions on how to fix that problem to be a more effective communicator. So that was really the structure of my message, and you can apply this to many different areas of your life because people need structure. You don't want to listen to someone ramble about something, not knowing whether you're going to get any value from it and not knowing where exactly they're going with the story. You want to know exactly how they're going to structure things and how you're going to benefit from it. Right now, whenever I write emails or I'm writing messages or creating these YouTube scripts, I always start with, hey, here's the problem or the main topic. Here are some things that I think that are wrong with it. Here's how I plan to fix it, and here is the solution. These are the things that makes you a much more effective communicator and really get people to follow along with what you're trying to tell them. Lastly, a third is to provide actionable steps, because people don't just want to know what you're trying to tell them, they want to know what they can do with the information that you have already given them. At the end of the day, when you're communicating something, you're trying to get someone to take action. If someone doesn't take action, then it doesn't really matter how much information I'm actually giving you. So that information has to be actionable, it has to be applicable. So if I'm ever sharing some of information, I like to kind of end it off with like, here's what I expect from you, or here's what you can do, right? For example, this is why I'm sharing all this information and I'm giving you a step-by-step thing on how to be a more effective communicator, because that is something that you can start to practice. But if I'm just sharing why communication is really powerful and I'm telling all my experiences, it wouldn't be that beneficial to you. So I always like to end it with something that will benefit the person that's listening to me. So you can start thinking about questions like, is the information shared clear to someone? Like, are they able to actually use it? What are the next steps that they can actually do after they've listened to the information? Can I break it down into a step-by-step process that they can follow along? By simply doing this little step at the end where you give a little bit more value to somebody else, it will make a huge difference and have you be a more effective communicator, because you're already thinking about how your message is beneficial instead of just thinking how to actually get your message across to someone. That's about it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, and go ahead and check out this video over here for more content just like this. As always, my name is Christian Wan, and I'll see you guys in the very next one. Later.